So we're going to start chapter 11. We're going to do the first two sections today because they are very, very similar to each other and they actually use the same skill levels. So we're going to do those together. Some things, because we're going into our geometry unit, that we need to discuss are some symbols that will be used. So we'll have this symbol here, which means angle, so we can have angle 1. And so what that represents is angle 1. Remember, we talked about how mathematicians wanted to try to make things simpler so that they didn't have to write the same thing over and over again. So it's the same thing with angles. If we put an M in front of it, that just stands for the measure of angle 1, or whatever we named the angle. We just named them angle 1 for now. If we have two lines that look like this that are parallel, that represents parallel lines. It just makes it to where you don't have to write the word parallel. And then our last symbol that we need to know is our little squiggly above our equal sign, which is congruent. And congruent means same. So we use congruent when we're talking about shapes and angles and segments because we don't always have to have a length or a measure in order to say that two things are the same, are equal. And so in geometry we call that congruent, so that we know the difference between saying angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 as opposed to saying angle 1, measure of angle 1 equals 80 degrees. So measure of an angle, we have an equal sign. If they're just two angles, we say that they are congruent. So those are different symbols that you will be seeing throughout this lesson, throughout any geometry that we do, all the way through your geometry lessons in high school. So, all right, moving on to vocab. Our first vocab word is a transversal, and that is a line that intersects two or more lines at different points. So, here are two lines. This is my transversal because it intersects two lines. I could have more than two lines. We could have three lines going on here. Again, this is a transversal because it intersects at different points. So what it means by different points is we don't have our little asterisks. Well, maybe if I can actually draw it. Our little asterisk going on today, to where it intersects. Technically it is intersecting two lines, but it is no longer a transversal because it is intersecting those two lines at the exact same point on both lines. So this is not a transversal. Transversals are over here, not a transversal. Other ways we could see transversals, our lines can be going up and down and our transversal can go across. So again, our transversals are the ones, all of these are lines, but I only put the arrowheads on our transversals. So those are examples of transversals. Now, in our transversals, so two lines cut by a transversal, we have what we call corresponding angles. So angles that lie on the same side of a transversal and in corresponding positions. So I'm going to number my angles. Angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, when we're talking about corresponding angles, so this is my transversal. So I want on the same side, and then I'm going to look at each line individually, and I want something that is in the same position. So angle 1, its corresponding angle would be angle 5, because they are both to the left of my transversal. So 1 is to the left of my transversal, and 5 is to the left of my transversal. And then they are both sitting on top of their line. So this is left, top left, and this is top left of its line when we're just looking at their lines. So another pair would be angle 2 with angle 6. because they are both to the right of their transversals, and again, both on top of the line. Another set of corresponding angles would be angle 3 with angle 7, because they are both to the left of the transversal. They are both located below their line. And then our other set would be angle 4 with angle 8. They are both to the right of the transversal, and again, they are both below their line. So here's that first one that we pointed out, angle 1 and angle 5. Notice, again, same side of the transversal. They're located in the same position within, in respect to the transversal and their own line. So that's a corresponding angle. And then we also have what we call alternate interior pairs, or alternate interior angles. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, there are a lot more different types of angle relationships when we're talking about two lines cut by a transversal, but these are the two we're going to focus on: corresponding angles and alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles are angles that lie within a pair of lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So inside, right, interior within, so we're talking inside and on opposite sides. So when we're talking alternate interior angles, we're talking angle 3 with angle 6. So here's angle 3 and here is angle 6. They are both inside our pair of lines, and then they are both on different sides of the transversal. Now, keep in mind, I'm wanting an angle from each line. So I'm not doing 3 with 4. Yes, they're on the opposite sides of the transversal, and they are both inside, but I want one angle from each of my lines. So there's one other pair of alternate interior angles, and so that would be angle 4 and angle 5. That is my other pair of alternate interior angles. Again, they are both inside and on opposite sides. So as I've heard others say, it's like we're kind of making an X on the inside. That is how we pair up our alternate interior angles. So now we're going to go into a couple examples. So example 1. And we draw the diagram. We'll go straight across here and label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the first thing we're going to do is name the corresponding angles. And if I was there in class with you, I'd have you do this by yourself first. So if you want to try, go ahead and pause the video, and then you can try on your own and then restart the video, see if you get these right. But remember, when we're talking corresponding angles, we're talking that they are on the same side of the transversal and the same location on their line. So when I look at, I'm going to change my color here. When I look at angle 1, its corresponding angle, so it needs to be on top of my transversal. So here's my transversal. And it needs to be, so 1 is to the left of its line, so my other angle has to be to the left of its line, so on top and left, and so that would be angle 3. Alright, I'll take care of you in just a second, Evelyn. Alright, and so then another pair would be angle 2, again on top, it's to the right of its line, so I want angle 4 because it is top right. And then I'm going to look at the bottom angles. So I could look at angle 8. Angle 8 is bottom left, and so I'm going to look at the other line and find bottom left, which would be angle 6. And then we have angle 7, which is bottom right. And so then I'm going to come over here and look at the bottom right, which would be angle 5. And so these are my corresponding angles. Now, using this same diagram, she needs a Band-Aid. We are now going to name our alternate interior angles. So remember, those are the angles that are inside and on opposite sides. So alternate means opposite, and interior means inside. So my first inside angle that I see is angle 2. So I want opposite from angle 2, which is going to be angle 6. So angle 2 with angle 6. Those are alternate interior. So then that leaves angle 3 with angle 7. That is my other alternate interior angle. Now, when it comes to your homework and identifying these, because you have a couple where you identify, in your homework, your work for your homework tonight is that you will say that you identified, and then what type of angle? Corresponding, or identified alternate interior. So those are like three, or like the first 3 in your homework, and you just say, I identified, because you're just choosing or saying what the angles are.